If you guys love the NFL Draft, then like today's video because the NFL Draft is just around the corner. Show your support for the NFL Draft and us here at Tennessee Titans Today by liking this video right now. This is Tennessee Titans Today, and I am Tom Downey here with the latest on the Tennessee Titans, including the latest Mel Kiper mock draft, which is quite interesting as it relates to Tennessee. He went 2 rounds, but there's only one pick in the first 2 rounds for Tennessee, and that was Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver out of Penn State, who has been mocked to Tennessee and discussed on this channel in the past, and understandably so. Receiver is an area of need for this organization, and Dotson could go in the late round 1 or in the early round 2 range. So I think the value is more or less right here for Dotson and for the Tennessee Titans. And he would help the passing attack, right? You're looking for another option beyond Robert Woods, beyond A.J. Brown, who of course you want to sign long term. Dotson's production at Penn State was pretty solid overall. 183 yards, nearly 2,800 yards through the air, 183 catches, my bad, 25 touchdowns, and his numbers, I think, would have been better had his quarterback, to be blunt, not been bad. I don't think Sean Clifford's a very good QB, and despite being an undersized receiver, especially to other guys like even an A.J. Brown, his catch radius is actually really impressive. He has a unique ability, despite being undersized, to be able to make big-time plays above the rim to an extent. Now, my biggest issue with this particular pick was less to do with Dotson because the receivers were gone. Traylon Burks, the other big 4 receivers, all off the board. Christian Watson was off the board. The next receiver is George Pickens. But instead of taking receiver 7, I would have gone with one of those interior offensive linemen. I want to take care of my center spot. I want to take care of my left guard position. Tyler Linderbaum was there. Could be a long-term center for you. Both guards, Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson, were on the board, and if you want to go QB, like we'll discuss in a little bit on today's show, you could have taken Desmond Ridder. So it's fine in the end is what I would grade this pick, and we'll get to my grades in a second, but we're a show for the people, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Grade the pick of Mel Kiper with Jahan Dotson and the Tennessee Titans. A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and give me your grade of the hypothetical pick for Dotson. I myself am going to give it a C+. It's not bad. It's average to maybe a little bit above average. I don't mind Dotson, the player. He's good. He'll come in around the top 32 on my board, although I think Sky Moore might be just as good, if not better, and I like him more than I like Christian Watson, so it all kind of evens out in the end. But all 3 of those interior offensive linemen are also on the board, and they've got similar grades for me, if not better grades, like Linderbaum and I think Kenyon Green, for example, than Dotson. So instead of taking receiver 7, I would be more intrigued by taking interior offensive lineman number 1. To get the best player at a position of need in round 1, I think that actually makes sense a lot more for Tennessee than reaching on a receiver. If the guards are gone, I would have given this a better grade. But they weren't. They were there. We'll find out what the Titans do on April 28th, day 1 of the NFL Draft, and Chat Sports will be live for the entirety of it. Every single pick will be broken down by us here at Chat Sports, and we want you to tune in because unlike ESPN, NFL Network, we'll actually discuss every player who gets drafted. No cutting away for boring interviews or going on and on about how terrible this person's life was before they got drafted, which was super weird when ESPN did that. No. We're going to give you analysis of the picks. That's what you guys want, after all. So go subscribe, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Caleb Farley update coming at you guys now, as Farley barely played last year, as I'm sure you guys all know, due to injury. He also opted out of the 2020 college football campaign. So getting Farley healthy is one of the most important things left for Tennessee this offseason because they are counting on him to be a key part of their defense. Here's what Mike Vrabel, and then we'll get to the GM, John Robinson, what he had to say about Farley and his recovery from that torn ACL. Vrabel said, quote, He looks like he's been rehabbing hard and doing what he has been asked to do. I like his consistency. He looks good, and he certainly looks stronger when I see him in the training room. GM John Robinson, he has worked really hard. He has been in there a lot, working, rehabbing. He is changing his body. He's a taller corner, and he's added some mass to his upper body. He has done a nice job. It's exactly what you want to hear about Farley, who I loved coming out of Virginia Tech, but the injury history was a red flag. His back, he had another knee issue, then he gets hurt again this year with that knee. Those were all like, red flags, that's troublesome, that's concerning. He barely played last year. Targeted 9 times in what was really one start to an extent. Allowed 7 completions, had a pass breakup. Nothing special, but the traits were why we were so intrigued by Caleb Farley. And this team is counting on him to be a critically important part of their defense. I'm a huge Christian Fulton fan. I like Elijah Mold in the nickel, but it's 2022. You need at least 3 starting caliber corners. And if Farley is the guy I think he can be in the NFL, this will be one of, if not the outright best, young cornerback room in the NFL. I thought Fulton played like a 1 last year, despite being overshadowed by guys like A.J. Terrell and Trayvon Diggs from his draft class. Farley, pre-injury, was my number 1 corner over guys like Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn. So the talent and the upside for this cornerback room is immense. But the injuries are the big concern, right? And it's probably why there might be some lack of confidence right now in Caleb Farley. So what do you guys think? What is your confidence level in Caleb Farley making his return this year and being a big-time impact player? Scale it for me 1 to 100 in the comments section. Let's head back to the NFL draft now, where NFL Network's Chad Reuter, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, has gone through and named the ideal round 1 pick for every NFL team. His was Sam Howell for the Titans, and I got a lot of thoughts on this because I think it's stupid. Howell had round 1 hype entering the season, but from me and a lot of others out there, there are doubts about his ability to be a true franchise QB. Here was Chad's argument. Howell's ability to make plays from and outside the pocket might push the Titans, who have Tannehill entrenched as their starter, to follow the example set by teams that have drafted a first-round QB despite the presence of a veteran. Patrick Mahomes and Alex with the Chiefs. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo last year. This is the same Chad Reuter who had a mock draft in which Sam Howell, or when Matt Corral went number 4, and had Howell going to the Tennessee Titans in round 1. And with it's Chad Reuter or Ryder, it's more like Chad Wronger, because this idea is stupid. Sam Howell is not a first-round QB. His production dipped this year. And this idea that Howell can make abilities from the pocket isn't really true. When the first read was not there for Sam Howell in the Mickey Mouse offense that UNC ran this year of RPOs and deep shots, it was a disaster. He panicked in the pocket, scrambled, took a bunch of bad sacks. He is a dual threat. The Baker Mayfield comparisons are absolutely fair. But taking Sam Howell in round 1 right now doesn't appeal to me. I don't trust he can read a defense. He's got a good arm and is a good athlete, yes, but all the other things that actually make up a franchise QB, I don't see. I do not like the idea of Sam Howell in round 1. I think that would be a significant reach by Tennessee. We'll talk about the other QBs in round 1, but do you even want to take one if you're the Titans? Let me know in the comments. Why for yes you do, and for no, you do not. Do you want a round 1 QB if you're Tennessee? Now, this is my quarterback rankings. My top 5 finalized, locked in. Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral, Sam Howell. I've got a second-round grade on Willis, a second-round grade on Pickett, a late second-round grade on Desmond Ridder, a mid-ish third on Matt Corral, and a late third on Sam Howell. I get that quarterbacks get pushed up. I would rather take Ridder. I would rather take Corral if I had to over Howell. Taking him at the back end of round 1 and thinking he's going to be your franchise QB is not the route I want to go. I don't love the idea of Ridder in round 1, but I'm more intrigued by that than Howell. His arm's not as good, but he is able to make plays in the pocket. That's not really Howell's game. He can make stuff out of structure happen, but I was unimpressed. So if I'm Tennessee, I know that I'm not sold on Ryan Tannehill, but this is not the quarterback draft class to get aggressive and try to find your franchise guy. I'd rather wait till next year instead.